Hey everybody, it's Chef Marty. It is Thursday, so we must be cooking. Today, what are we going to talk about? It's vegetable stock day, one of the fundamental building blocks of cooking. There's vegetable stock, there's chicken stock, there's beef stock. The meat stocks are a little more complicated, so we're starting kind of easy today. But don't get me wrong, this is a fundamental, must-know item when you're cooking in a kitchen, in a restaurant, or at home. I'll give you a little information about our vegetable stock. It is completely vegan. There's no reason to put any dairy or meat in a vegetable stock. So it's vegan, starts out that way. We use it as a key ingredient in two of our current menu items. One is our vegan mushroom and Brussels sprout risotto. And the other item is the potato leek soup. So that two basic items on the menu, and then we're also starting a new udon dish tomorrow that it will be a fundamental element of that as well. So come on down and try your udon. So, vegetable stock. Where do I want to begin? Let's talk about the ingredients. You guys might want to come a little closer, so get a little close up on these elements. Starting with onions. Onions, I choose to use yellow onions. I find they're the most, they're not polarizing. Red onions can be a little sharp, a little too aggressive, so I use yellow onions. I've frequently gotten the question from some of my employees, well, since it's just going into a stock, can we leave the skins on? Can we just put them in? And I'm reminded every time I hear a question like that of something that one of my chef instructors said a while ago, and that was garbage in, garbage out. If you want something to be a good finished product, don't put lousy ingredients in. Just like you wouldn't cook with lousy cooking wine, with a few exceptions. You don't want to put the scraps, the stuff that you wouldn't eat, into a stock. So no, don't put the skins in. Before I move on to the other ingredients, let's talk about what size you should cut things. Basic theory here is you're only going to be cooking the stock for a certain amount of time, so you want the size of the cut to be effective for removing as much flavor from that item within that amount of time, which means short cooking time, small cut. Long cooking time, larger cut. For instance, vegetable stock cooks between 30 and 60 minutes. That's quick, so you want to do a pretty small cut. If you were making a beef stock or a veal stock and using a lot of beef bones, that item takes up to 8 hours, maybe even longer in some situations to cook. So I would literally just take a carrot and maybe whack it into 3 or 4 pieces for that, so it has a nice amount of time to extract this flavor. Otherwise, that carrot will just be mush within an hour, although it's just barely starting to extract flavor from the bones. So we're doing a veg stock, so it is going to be a small cut. And again, when you're doing something for a stock, this isn't a showpiece. No one's going to look at this, so it doesn't have to be pretty. I do a real basic, cut it in half or in pieces that way, turn it 90 degrees, and then just kind of cut around the moon there, and you've got even-sized pieces. That's about the size I would do for a veg stock. Okay, so that's onion. Moving on, we've got carrots. These are pretty small carrots. Same theory. If you're not going to put onion skin in, you're not going to put unpeeled carrots in. Peel the carrots, get rid of the peels, and then cut these into, that's about the size I would use for a vegetable stock that's going to cook 30 to 60 minutes. Okay, celery. Same idea. One thing about celery, you don't want to put the celery, the leaves from celery in. Reason is, the leaves are going to cook a lot faster than the stock. And if you've ever seen very delicate green items cook, they'll cook, and then they're done, and then they're wilted, and then they go dark green, and they get pretty bitter. You don't want that element in your stock, so just leave the greens out. Cut the celery up the same way you did the carrot. Another thing I like to put in my stock is fennel frond. I'm sorry, not fennel frond, but fennel stalk. This is the frond, this is the stalk. We don't want the frond in there for the very same reason we don't want the celery leaves. So I'll go through each stalk versus stalk, and just nick off the fronds. There we go. Cut yourself in the process. And then just a quick chop on that. Goes in the stock. The thing I like about the fennel, gives it that nice, for lack of a better word, it has this little bit of a licoriceiness to it, which I don't like licorice, but in the small quantity that we're going to put this in the stock, it kind of just makes it taste more French. I don't know why, but it's a good thing. Okay, there's more onions. What else have we got here? Tomato is something you can put in stock if you want. It adds another element of flavor. Get my words right today. But it's not necessary. It can add some color as well. The one thing you would want to avoid is putting too much of the seeds in, because that can lead to some bitterness. Okay, so we've got that. Last item here is parsley. Again, not the leaves, just the stems. And that gives it some grassy herbal nature to it. Then on this plate here, I've got a bunch of other things that no stock would be worthwhile without. First is thyme. I put a generous amount of thyme in my stock. I like that backbone of flavor. And then we've got bay leaves. It's a pretty common thing in cooking. One sprig of rosemary. Rosemary can be fairly aggressive, so you just want a little bit. I like it in there, but I don't like it to overpower. Peppercorns, black peppercorns, just whole, just throw them in there. Whole cloves of garlic. I will, instead of just leaving it whole, I will take it, smash it under my knife, just so it has a little more surface area to start drawing flavor out. And the hot water can get in there and start working on it faster. And then the last element here I have are dried mushrooms. Not a requirement, but it's something, depending on the intended use of your stock, it's a good element of additional flavor, additional umami quality, that meatiness that mushrooms have that you can kind of fake meat, sort of. And it helps darken the stock as well if you want a little more color. But if your end use of the stock is something that's not going to be involving mushrooms, you may not want to do that because it may conflict with whatever you're going to do. I got some feedback on some of the last videos that people like to see me drink while I'm cooking. So I've got a cocktail here. They asked me, Marty, what do you think goes well with vegetable stock? What are you going to say? A margarita, of course. Delicious. That's our house margarita. We put a little chili powder and paprika around the rim with salt. Delicious. Okay, where was I? We've got all the ingredients. So let's talk about ratios of ingredients. What you see on this plate is exactly what I would put into roughly a 2-gallon batch of stock. The ratio of onions to carrots and celery, two parts onions to 1 part celery to 1 part carrot. Fennel is basically, in layman's terms, it means twice as many onions, twice as much volume of onions as celery and carrots. And then for the fennel, I kind of just do a little 1 or 2 stalks. It's not a major player, it's just an accent piece. And you can't go wrong. You can't screw up a stock by putting too much carrots in. It might be a little deeper in color, but it's still going to be delicious and it's still going to be good for whatever you want to use it for. Okay, so all that goes into the pot. You fill it up with cold water. Don't start with hot water because you need that time that you're heating up the water to start extracting the flavors. If you shortcut it, you're shortcutting the flavor of your stock. So, cold water, onto the burner, bring that up to a boil quickly, and then you're going to bring it down to a simmer. Simmer means you've got action in the pot, but it's not going crazy, it's not fireworks, but there is movement on the top of the surface. It's not just flat. It's not just setting off a little steam. It's got some movement, but it's not crazy. Okay, and then once you got that simmer going, 30 to 60 minutes. What I encourage you to do after the 30-minute mark, take a taste. Just take a taste of that stock. See if you're getting what you think you should be getting out of it. You should be tasting those elements. Does it taste like carrot? Does it taste like onion? There's some garlic back there. I got thyme on there. You can also take a chunk of carrot. It's a good one to use. Pull a chunk of carrot out of the pot. See if it's cooked. If it's still hard, if you can't get a knife through it or a fork through it, you've still got a ways to go. You haven't extracted basically all the love that those vegetables have to give. So keep going until, number one, it tastes like the basis of a soup, essentially, and the carrots are mush. Then you kind of, you know you've gotten what you can get from those things, and it's time to call it quits. If you go too far, you can overcook a stock. Start to cook the flavor out of it. It gets a little flat tasting. So anyway, that's how you know it's done. Once it's done, I'm going to stop right there. I wanted to tell you a couple of things about stocks. Why would you need them at home? It's a basis for a soup, like I just said. It's also the basis for sauces. If you want to create a sauce to go with some entree that you're making, you can use chicken stock for a chicken sauce, but you can also, vegetable stock I find is one of the great multifaceted players in the kitchen. I don't have to have a chicken stock. We don't make chicken stock in my kitchen. We don't make beef stock. I believe that I can get what I need for my menu from vegetable stock and take it in a lot of different directions. So stock can also be used as, you can use it as a braising liquid for, if you're going to make a roast or something like that. Instead of just using water, you can use stock with some wine or add it to water. You can also, one thing I really love to do with stock is to use it as the liquid that you cook starches in, or grains. Rice, make a great rice pilaf. Otherwise, rice is just cooked in water, there's no flavor. You cook rice in stock, you're starting to build flavors in that dish, and you can take it in a lot of different directions. Quinoa, oats, you can make a wonderful oat risotto using stock. A lot of different things you can do with stock. It's not just for soups. So, all right, that's my stock speech. Time for a sip. Great tequila. Okay, so over here, I've got a pot of finished vegetable stock that we just made today. The last thing we do is you're going to want to strain that out. Luckily it's cooled enough. Send it through a fairly fine mesh strainer. See, there you've got all those veggies and herbs that have all the love cooked out of them. And there's that mush of the carrot that I mentioned. There's no more structure to that vegetable. It is all now part of the flavor of the stock. Okay, you got the stock, we're going to cool it down, then what do you do with it? It's a lot to use, you can never use it all at once. So I'm just going to give you a couple of helpful hints. Cool it down, keep some in the fridge if you're going to use it right away. You do need it to be refrigerated, it will go bad. 3, 4, 5 days, it may start to get an off taste, start to taste a little bit sour. So in order to prevent that, we freeze it. Freezing stock is a really great way to have it at your fingertips and not have to go through the process every time you need some. Just be careful, don't freeze it in large containers, because that means you've got to use a large container's worth of stock when you need it. And most times you only need a little bit. So I suggest something like this. This is a pint-size container, or something that I actually learned this one from Rachel Ray, but she suggested putting them in ice cube trays, so that you just have, make your ice cube, freeze it, then you've got all these little stock flavored cubes. You can dump that into a Ziploc bag in your freezer, and then you're going to make a sauce, reach in there, grab 1 or 2 cubes, boom, right into the pan. No muss, no fuss, really easy, and you don't have to worry about leftovers. So that is about all I have to say about stocks today. I know it's not the most scintillating subject, and there's no finished product to eat. I know my cameraman's very upset about that, but I'll share my margarita with him, and then we'll go make some risotto or something. Thanks for joining us today. It was nice to have you guys here. Come and see us at Bo Edison Fine Food and Drink, and don't forget the udon dish starting tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. Bye, guys.